All right, before we get started, we need to see what some of the CSS syntax actually looks like. When we're writing CSS inline or inside of a website, a web page rather, we call that internal CSS. And it looks like this. We type style, and then we have what are called, I'm doing air quotes here, selectors. And then so we have like H1, color blue. And I'm going to change this to an H1, save that and refresh. And so now we can see whenever I make a change here, it changes the styling. So it changes the actual look of the page. And so this is pretty much the smallest thing you can change on a page using CSS. It's just the color. But a selector is this. So it selects the H1 tag, anything between the opening and closing curly brackets, which can also actually go on multiple lines. I actually prefer them on multiple lines for the most part. So anything that runs between here is going to take effect on any of the H1s on the page. Now I have a property here and I've got a value. So these are, it's called a pair, a property value pair. And so I changed the property of color to red. And all I did was write color, colon, and then red and semicolon to tell the browser that this is the end of the current declaration. And a declaration is just this line. So we've got the entire selector, we've got a declaration, we have a property, and we have a value. Now, if we want to, we can add multiples. So it doesn't just have to be one at a time. We can also write font size, and let's change the font size to something huge. Let's say 80 pixels. And we're going to get into pixels, font sizes, and all this stuff down the road. Refresh the page and look at that. It's huge. And so now we have two declarations. We've got line 7 and line 8. We have our selector here on line 6, and we just have a closing bracket, which basically wraps all this into one row. Now, if we wanted to add another selector, we could do that as well. Just write div, and let's go border, 1 pixel solid blue. And all I'm doing here is wrapping the word welcome in a div. Save that, refresh. And now I've got a blue border up there. So just like that, CSS can be applied. Now this is only going to affect anything that's inside of this index.html page. And technically that's no use really, because you can have more than one HTML page. You might have 100, you might end up having 1,000. You might write a CMS that has tens of thousands of pages, or like Facebook, literally billions and billions of pages. And you can't change this on every single page. So what do we do then? We move that into an external style sheet. And we'll cover that in a later lesson.